I'm excited because these Luminary Heart episodes are like a conversation having with my best friend. And for this example, you are my best friend, or at least one of my close friends, or somebody that I found and wanted to talk to about life. Either way, the point is, I'm excited for this topic. So the name of the book is Morality and Emotions, and it's written by Carla Bagnoli. So I ain't got a problem with her. She's cool as fuck. What I do got a problem with is how the fuck she writes, because I don't like it. It's very confusing. I think she uses a bunch of unnecessary words and sometimes unnecessary phrasing, unnecessary sentence structure, but that's just my opinion. I love where she was going with it, but I don't like the route she took to get there. It confused the fuck out of me. But overall, she had a lot of beautiful things to say, and she said them in some very interesting ways. But she cited a lot of great philosophers. She made some really beautiful points or brought up some really good like ideologies and her like perspective of love and the correlation between self-love and um practical rationality. So the whole chapter, I'm holy shit, it took me like five, probably longer, but 5 days to read it, reread it, reread it, and then reread it and take notes at the same time. But the main point is she's talking about how character development is based on how practically rational you are, and how like a lot of psychoanalysts believe or have found it to be character development to be a lot more strongly relative to self-love than it is relative to practical rationality. But her whole stanzas was about whether or not practical rationality and self-love go hand in hand, or at least are overlap each other on a basis of, if the more self-love you have, then the more likely you are to be practically rational, or the more practically rational you are, the more likely you are to have self-love. So she quoted this guy named Hans Leopold. Leopold? Leopold. Leopold. I don't know. I feel like people's names should be easier. It feels like all the philosophers have these unnecessarily complicated ass names, but that's beyond me. Anyways, Hans, this is what he said. The erotic dimension of a man's becoming, what may be properly called self, is a matter of the development of our love life. We become ourselves based on our love life. So you are formed by the way that you love, the way that you receive love, the way that you love yourself. And on a basis, who you are stems from how you perceive or receive love, whether it be for yourself, others, your environment, the spirit, whatever it may be around you or within you, your love experience with those things, including yourself, are what make up your character development, or like make up who you are as a person. And I fuck with that. I agree with that. I feel like you wouldn't be who you are if it wasn't for the love that you experience, or the lack of love that you experience. Whether that lack of love was coming from you, or the lack of love was coming from others that were around you that you had an anticipation of receiving love from, or that you were told by societal standards that the love is supposed to be received from. Like, people who grow up with parents that don't exactly express love in the most like soft way or the most appropriate manners. And that definitely has a huge effect on who you are as a person and how you receive and perceive love. And that in hand, so there's a lot of like, this leads to this and this leads to this when it comes to this chapter in this book. But my point is, the amount of love that you receive from others and yourself determine the way that you perceive the world, and that determines what your life experience is, and that determines how your character develops. So it's a trickle down effect, all starting with love. And I believe that it all starts with self-love. And so the fact that she believes that there's a correlation between practical rationality and self-love, I think that's true, because my ideology is everything that you are as a person comes from how much self-love you have, whether that self-love is built on its own from you or is built up from the people around you. Anything that you do, anything you are as a person, anything about your character, any way that you perceive the world, it all ties back to how much self-love you have. Whether that self-love, once again, is formed from the people around you, or the self-love is reinstilled on your own because the people around you weren't giving you a sufficient amount of reassurance on who you are as a person, or how capable you are as a person, or what it looks like to love yourself, or what it looks like to love someone else is irrelevant. It's about the fact that whether or not it was built and how it was built, and that will determine your livelihood and the way that you see the world. So one of the people that Aristotle, that Carla seems to really love is Aristotle. And his ideologies on love and his philosophy on love. And so she quotes him a lot, and she refers to his ideologies often, which I respect because I fuck with Aristotle too. One of the things that Aristotle is known for is one of his quotes is that loving others proceeds from the good man loving himself. So once again, we tie back into the fact that you can't properly love others, or you can't be a truly virtuous person, which means then you can't have true friendships if you don't have self-love. If you don't love yourself, then how can you expect someone else to love you? It's hard to swallow that pill sometimes, but if you don't love yourself, then the person that your quote unquote friend is loving or being there for, showing up for, is not your true self, because you don't love yourself. Therefore, you're not being your true self. Therefore, they're loving someone that doesn't really exist. It's a mask or person or persona or a character that you put on for the people around you that you might desire approval or kinship or community from, but it doesn't sit true with who you are as a person. Because if you truly are genuine, so genuine energy or authenticity is one of the things that go hand in hand with self-love. So if you love yourself, then that means that you are your authentic self. And it's hard to be your authentic self if you don't love yourself. And so that's what I took from Aristotle's quote about loving others comes from the good man's relationship to himself. So if you don't love yourself, then you can't be loved by others, or it's hard to believe that other people love you. So Aristotle has some really interesting. By the way, I just want to thank you, quote. Thank you, Carla. I really fuck with you for writing this book. It's really great, and a lot of the things that I've never thought about, I've thought about now because of the book that you wrote and the way that you wrote it. I don't fuck with it, but the points that you made, I really fuck with. One of the points that you talked about is when Aristotle said that he believed that bad people are bad because they don't love themselves, which is what deems them to be a bad person. That is an interesting perspective. I believe that I do believe that there's a correlation between a person making moralistically negative choices and not having a lot of love in their head. But I do not believe that bad people are bad because they don't love themselves. There are a lot of people who don't love themselves that are not bad people. I don't think the two are codependent. I do think they overlap in some situations, but I don't think that if you lack self love, then that leads you to being a bad person. It may lead you to be um, a more of a people pleaser, even. So in those situations, you might be perceived to be a good person. But I do understand where Aristotle was coming from when he said that, bad people are considered bad because they don't love themselves, which is what deems them to be a bad person. I do believe that there are some people who have been bad people that didn't love themselves, and in that moment those two things correlated. But I don't think that in every situation where a person is lacking self-love that they become this bad person by societal standards. uh, I think that a lot of people would benefit from receiving love from others to make it easier for them to love themselves. But those two things should not be codependent, because true self love is built internally and not fueled externally. If you really want to love yourself, you have to sit with yourself and understand who you are as a person, what you care about, what makes you happy, what fulfills you, what angers you, and what saddens you. All the things about you that you perceive to be true to yourself are the things that might form you to be able to start loving yourself. I believe, in my opinion, all of these things stem from self-love. Anything that you experience in life stems from how much love you have for yourself. Your perspective of the world is determined by how much self-love you have. And if you don't have a lot of self-love, then you might feel like the world is against you. You might feel like a lot of situations come to you and are trying to tear you apart. But the truth of the matter is nothing is happening to you or for you. Everything is just happening. Your perception of it is what deems it to be in your universe. So if something happens to you and you perceive it to be a negative thing, or you say, this is fucked up, my life is always fucked up, bad shit always happens to me, then that's exactly what the fuck is gonna happen. But if some shit happens to you, or some shit happens, and you deem it as that's just something that happened, and maybe you even take a positive spin on it. We're like, oh, that I didn't get this text from this person, but that's okay because I have more time to focus on myself. I didn't receive this job, but that's okay because that opens another door for me to receive another job. I didn't end up with this person, but that's okay because I'm able to learn a lesson so that I can be better for the person that I truly desire, or the person that's truly meant to be in my life. All things have no negative or positive connotation. Things just exist as they are. It is based on the person and your human experience that determines whether or not it is a negative or a positive thing in your universe. Because what's positive to you could be negative to somebody else, and what's negative to somebody else could be positive to you. Everybody's living a very different life based on their perception of livelihood. But the truth is, we're all the same. We're all experiencing the same shit. We're all going through the same shit. It's just that we perceive everything different. Let's get into the next topic. The next thing I want to talk about is what I feel like is one of the good equations for an enjoyable life, for a loving life, for a fulfilling life, for a life filled with people who love you, you loving yourself, and you being able to love others. This is something I came up with. This is my shit. You know what I'm saying? It came out of my brain. So I fuck with it. I think it's tough. I really feel like, I can see it being quoted thousands of years from now. Maybe not thousands, because like that's a long time. But hundreds of years from now, where they're like, wow, the great Helios Ether said, and this is what he said. That's me. Here we go. Oh, fucking mosquitoes. I think mosquitoes are such pieces of shit. Because who told you that you could just land on me and start sucking on my blood? That's just like the most inconsiderate, rude thing that a fucking animal could do. Disgusting. The healthiest form of loving others and being loved arises from a well-formed relationship with oneself. And that relationship is best built on virtue. So if you want to experience love in the healthiest way, if you want to give love in the healthiest way, you need to build a relationship with yourself. And the best way to build that relationship is by being a virtuous person. And what does it mean to be a virtuous person? It means to have high standards and a moral perspective. So when you have high moral standards, that means that you do things that sometimes are harder to do, that usually are harder to do, because oftentimes the negative thing to do is the easiest route. But having a high moral standard leads you to being a virtuous person. And that means not talking negative about someone when everyone else around you is talking negative about someone. That means not indulging in negative behaviors like being violent and acting in anger rather than understanding your anger and setting a boundary and moving on in your life. It's about making decisions that have a positive or a good moral compass. The more that you follow a virtuous or a positive moral compass in your livelihood, the more self-love that you will have, and the easier it will be for you to love others and be loved by others and love yourself. That's just my opinion, though. I ain't like God or nothing, but I be saying some fly shit sometimes. Next. See, I got notes and shit. I take good notes. My shit crazy. But I can't, like, have basic notes or else I won't be interested in what I wrote. So I have to use pretty colors and fucking put parentheses and arrows all over the place. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is something else that Carla brought up. Chapter 3.1 called Practical Rationality and Self-Love. I know I'm quoting it again, but I'm just letting you know so you can go and cite the shit that I'm talking about if you want to further read and you want to have a discussion about it, because I'm really open to discussion. I want to talk about love. I want to understand it a lot more as much as I can, because I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it, but you can never know too much. Anyways, one of the things she talks about is another quote from Aristotle. Like I said, she fuck with Aristotle. I fuck with Aristotle. So on that, you like this, twin. But I don't like the way you fucking wrote, Carla. Fix that. Make it easy. Talk to me like I'm your homie. Don't talk to me like I'm your teacher and you trying to turn in a good ass paper. Put the shit so I can understand. Set the shit up. Sorry. Fucking love Kevin Hart. Here's the quote from Aristotle. Great guy. From what I know about, as far as I know about him, I never met the guy. He's kind of dead now. Been dead for a long time. The good man loves the good, and good things are things done with one's rational part and control. So the good man loves his rational part. That is a lot of complex wording because this nigga existed during a time where niggas talked in really complex ways. But what that means is, in layman's terms, as they say, the good man loves the good and good actions are guided by one's rational part. Therefore, the good man loves his rational part. And if that's still too complicated for you, the only way you can do good things is by listening to the rational part of your existence. So for you to love yourself, you have to love the rational part of yourself. One should not call themselves a virtuous person and not love the good, because a virtuous person must first love the good, which then validates them loving themselves. So let's clarify what the good is. The good is what I was talking about earlier when I said being a virtuous person, having a positive or a good moral compass, doing things that you know will contribute to the greater good of yourself, others, or your environment. That's what being a virtuous person is. And that's what the good that I'm referring to is the greater good, the good of your environment, the good of yourself, the good of the spiritual growth of someone else, the good of the spiritual growth of yourself, the good of the growth of your universe, of your immediate environment, the good of the earth, things that contribute to the positive progression of anyone and anything. That's the good. That's what being the virtuous person is. And being virtuous makes it feel good to love yourself because you feel good about who you are. You know that you leave a positive effect. So how could you not love yourself? You know you leave a positive effect on yourself. You know when you enter an environment, you leave a positive effect on that environment. You know when you enter a person's life, that you leave a positive effect on that person's life. So how could you not love yourself? It's hard not to love yourself when you know that you have such a positive, virtuous impact on people and things and yourself whenever you're existing. Like, I love the effect that I have on people. I love the effect that I have on environments. I love the effect that I have on myself. So it's easy for me to love myself because I'm a virtuous person. And I also am just really awesome. So it's kind of hard not to love me. On to the next part. This is something that I never thought about before, but I've always known to be true to me and just never vocalized it or put it into a quote or a phrase. But she says, self-love is to stand in the same relation to oneself as one stands with another when you love them. This is called the same relation constraint. It means to call yourself self-loving means that you love yourself the way you would love someone else that you care about. So I love me just the same way that I love my mother. I love me just the same way that I would love my significant other, or maybe even more. So this is called the same relation constraint. And it's a beautiful way to judge or gauge how much self-love do you have. So if you think about it, the people that are in your life that you've treated so well, sometimes exes, or sometimes relatives that you don't necessarily, like all the time, or sometimes people who you see or idolize, do you treat yourself and do you love yourself the way that you love them? If the answer is no, then let's start working internally. Because you deserve the love that you're giving to other people. Because if you didn't deserve it, you wouldn't be able to give it to them. The love that you're able to give to others is the exact amount of love, maybe oftentimes even more love, that you deserve to receive. I believe that people deserve to receive an unconditional amount of love. And so if you're able to love someone in such a strong manner, don't you feel like that you should be able to receive that love from you as well? Because why not? You're just as awesome, if not more awesome, than the person that you're loving the way that you're loving. It's not about being a better person. It's just about, once again, something called the same relation constraint. If you feel like this person deserves this level of love that you're able to give, what makes you different from the person that you're loving? Why don't you deserve the love that you're giving that person? I'm just asking. I'm not, it's just a question. Moving on. All right, for this part, I got to read directly from the book because it's a long sentence. I don't want to make sure I brought this up because I think it's a wild ideology to have. So there's this guy named Oswald Hamplin. Interesting person. Look him up. He believed that self-love was void of love and was most accurately recovered as self-interest. He felt that self-interest was inevitable because people want to ensure the longevity of their livelihood. He felt as though self-love had nothing to do with same relation constraint, and more everything to do with self-interest. Boo! Boo! Fuck you, Hamfling, because you're wrong. That's a fucked up thing to assume, because not everybody. If it was inevitable, then people would never hate themselves. If it was inevitable, then people would never lack self-love. But there's a world full of people out there that don't love themselves. So for a person to sit there and go, yeah, it's mostly self-interest, and that's inevitable, so it's not really an accomplishment. That's fucking crazy. It's hard to love yourself sometimes because you know you more than anybody else does. So you know all the things that you don't want to tell other people. You know all the things that are dark about you. You know all the things that you don't like about you. So sometimes you can be your worst critic. And so sometimes it becomes hard to love yourself. So to sit there and say that self-love is inevitable is fucking insane. Because there are people who go throughout their entire lives never loving themselves because they've never been in the proper mindset to be able to do so. And that sucks, and I really wish that upon no one. I desire the opposite for everyone. I want everyone to be able to love themselves so much that anybody who meets them would be like, oh, it would be crazy of me not to love this person. They love themselves so much. I just feel like it makes sense for me to love them too. Imagine if everybody loved themselves so much that everybody loved each other. That would be a fucking amazing world to live in. But I'm fantasizing. The reality of the situation is some people don't love themselves. And I really hope if you are a person who does not love yourself, that you come to a place where you start to appreciate who you are as a person, what you've been through, and who you can become. Because I love you. And if I love you, that means that you should be able to love yourself. For sure. For sure. Without a doubt. Okay, so I'm going to just say this. I don't really fuck with this Oswald guy. Because I don't fuck with his perspectives on love. And if I ever meet him, I don't know if he's dead, but if I ever meet him, I'm going to give him a big hug and tell him that I love him. Because this motherfucker has some interesting perspectives on love. He felt like you can't really love yourself because you can't find yourself to be charmed by yourself. You can't be entertained by yourself. Which is, fuck you, you're wrong. I entertain myself all the fucking time. I think I'm one of the funniest people on the planet. I also am very charmed by myself. Sometimes I look in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm sexy as fuck. Especially when I don't have my shirt on. And then sometimes when I look at my back tattoo, I'm like, damn, that shit fire. That's crazy because it's my favorite tattoo and I never get to see it. Only when I look in the mirror. Anyways, my point is, Hamfling had this ideology that it was hard to believe that somebody could have self-love because to love something or to love someone meant to be charmed by them, to be entertained by them, to appreciate the interest that they had. And what the fuck are you talking about? I love the interest that I have. I love all the things that I'm interested in. This guy's ideologies are just really crazy to me. It just makes no sense. And I hope that he finds the space to love himself. And if he doesn't, then that sucks. But, I hope that he does. Because that's a crazy thing to believe, that you can't be entertained or charmed or interested in the things that you are interested in. Just to have a belief that you can't charm yourself, to have a belief that you can't be entertained on your own is tough. Because I know that there are some people out there who believe this thing, who believe that the only way to be entertained is to get on their phone, to believe that the only way, because sometimes I'm one of those people. I'm a victim of doom scrolling. Just earlier today, I was talking about I wish they had fucking shock collars for doom scrolling, because I need one. I doom scroll too much, way too fucking much. Anyways, my point is, just because you're not always entertained by who you are as a person, just because you're not always charmed by who you are as a person, does not mean that you don't deserve self-love. Take the time to find the things that you care about, and take the time to find the things that you love about yourself. And if you can't find anything, let me know. I'll help. Because there's got to be something. There's got to be something about you that you love about you. There's no way that there's nothing about you that you love. There's no way. It's impossible. You exist as you. How could you not find something to love about yourself? I believe in you. Go look at it. Go sit in the fucking dark room and think to yourself, what do I love about me? What is one of my favorite things about me? Physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever. Find it. And then love that thing hard as fuck. And then maybe that will blossom into more self-love in other areas of your life. Or other components of your characteristic. Another thing that Oswald believed is that you are incapable of making sacrifices for yourself. Because to love someone or to love something means that you're willing to make sacrifices for that thing or that person. And Oswald believed that it was impossible to make sacrifices for yourself. And once again, here I am with the same mentality. That's fucking stupid. Because I know for a fact in my life, I have definitely made a lot of sacrifices for myself. I've made sacrifices for the comfortability of my home to come and live in a different country. I made sacrifices for the relationships that I've had with some family members because I know that it's not positive for me to be around people who don't support the way that I exist. I know that I have made sacrifices with some friends because I don't want them around because I know that they're not contributing to the betterment of my livelihood and the vision that I have for myself. I have made sacrifices for my desires because there are some things that I really want to partake in that I don't because I know it will be to the detriment of my livelihood. And that's a sacrifice. Like, imagine one of the examples that Carla used is she talks about how, like, if a political person, like a person who wanted to become mayor or some shit, cut off a friend because they wanted to make sure that they pursued the fucking politics that they wanted to pursue. If the person is truly interested in what they're interested in, if they love what they're interested in, and they're willing to sacrifice a friendship to pursue what they're interested in, that's making a sacrifice for yourself. Being willing to cut off things or disadministrate things that are not conducive to the things that you love. And if you are one of the things that you love, which you should be, then you should be willing to cut off anything and anyone that is not contributing to the love of yourself or the things that you care about. If they're not contributing to the livelihood of you, then there's no reason for them to be around. So one of the things that Carla talks about that I think is important is the fact that there are people who neglect themselves or disregard their own best interests, and how that's a reflection of them having some form of self-hate or some lack of self-love. Because if you love yourself, then you won't neglect yourself. Because there's no one who can love something and neglect it. Because if you neglect it, then you obviously don't love it. It's very simple math. Because if you love yourself, then you shouldn't neglect yourself. And you shouldn't disregard your needs in life. You shouldn't disregard your own best interest. Whether that best interest be something that you need to eat on a daily basis, as simple as that, or something as complex as loving the darkest parts of you that you show to no one else. It's really hard to love parts of you that you feel like no one else should see, but it's very important as well because you need to love you as a whole. So if you love yourself, don't neglect yourself. Don't neglect your best interests. Don't disregard what you need in life. If you need a better partner, then stop being with who you're with. If there's something that you know you need to do in order to enjoy your life more, in order to love yourself more, then fucking do it. And don't take forever because the longer you take, the harder it is to get it done. One of my favorite things to remind myself when I'm taking longer to get something done than I need to, whether that be dealing with a shadow part of myself or dealing with a negative aspect of myself or something that I deem to be a negative aspect of myself, the sooner you get it done, the sooner it'll be done. The sooner you get it done, the sooner it will be done. Because if you work on it now, you don't have to worry about it later. But if you push it to the side, then it's only become stronger, harder, more complex. It starts to add pile and pile and pile and pile, and it becomes this almost insurmountable thing or insurmountable project or insurmountable task because you decided to push it to the side for so long. If there are things that you're neglecting that you need to do them now instead of trying to wait until later. There's never a perfect time to get some shit done. The perfect time to get some shit done is now. When you thought about it, when you got the idea, the best time to act on an idea is when you get the idea. I'm just saying. One of the things that Carla brings up is she talks about how there are parts of what Hamfling has to say that make a little bit of sense. And one of the things is that self-interest and self-love definitely overlap one another. So you can't be in love with yourself if you're not interested in yourself. If you don't have your best interest in mind, then there's no way that you love yourself. Because a form of self-interest is a person who's an alcoholic deciding not to go to the bar because they know it's in their best interest not to go to the bar because they will end up drinking. And that's showing yourself love by doing what's best for you so that you can continue to live and you can continue to love. Because if you don't love yourself, or if you have no interest in what's best for you, then you'll go to the bar and you start fucking drinking all night and maybe black out. Looking for, I don't know what, feeling some type of void or looking for gratification or some type of dopamine hit, whatever it may be. You know what's in your best interest because you are you. So you know what's good for you and you know what's not good for you. So do what's good for you because that makes it easier to love yourself. All of this ties back into being a virtuous person because the more virtuous decisions that you make, the easier it is to love yourself. Because the more often that the alcoholic chooses not to go to the bar, the better they feel about themselves, the more likely they are to love themselves because you know you're making the right decision for your best interest. It's a cyclical effect when it comes to addiction. When it comes to, and that addiction can be to a substance or that addiction can be to negativity because it's comforting to be negative sometimes. It's comforting to be in negativity. It's easier to choose a negative option. It's easy to not be interested in what's best for you. But it feels better. Your life is more fulfilling when you choose what's best for you, when you choose to love yourself, when you choose not to go to the bar because you know you might drink too much, when you choose not to engage in negative conversation because you know you're going to say something that you should say about somebody. It's really not complicated, but that doesn't mean that it's not hard because it's simple to choose what's best for you. But sometimes it's hard to make the decision because you're used to something, because you're comfortable with something, because you become accustomed to something. It's hard for an alcoholic to put down the bottle because that's what they're used to. And what's familiar to us is what's comforting for us. But that's not always what's in our best interest. So Carla brings up a definition of self-interest that I believe beautifully ties self-interest and self-love, or beautifully overlaps self-interest and self-love. To have self-interest and to have self-love means to look after your own happiness without neglecting your goals and well-being. To properly organize and act on your desired goals means that you have true self-interest and true self-love. For sure, I fuck with it. Good job, Carla. See what I said? See what I mean? I fuck with you because you got some good ass ideas. You got some good ass philosophy. I just don't like the way you write, my nigga. Fix that shit. Never mind. Live your life the way you want to live your life. But I don't like it. I probably want to read another book from you. But I like what you got here. I like the information you gave. I'm fucking with it. This ain't your book, but this is the notes that I took on your book. I'm talking to her like she might watch this shit. She might. Anyways, this guy Harry. And he had some interesting perspectives. I like him more than like Oswald. I don't really like Oswald's ideologies. I love him. I love him for his contribution to the world. I love him for what he has done for some people, but I don't really like him. That's besides the point. What Harry Frankfurt believed was that someone who loves himself displays and demonstrates that love just by being himself. So he felt like you don't have to be necessarily in love with you in order to know that you love yourself. You just have to openly and unapologetically love the things that you love, which I can understand from a certain perspective because that makes sense. I think that is a big part of having self love is unapologetically loving the things that you're interested in. But I don't think that that means having self love is void of loving your actual self. Although I do agree that a big part of self love is openly loving the things that you enjoy, is openly and unapologetically loving the things that you're interested in.
Ok, estamos en una entrevista con Helios. Primera pregunta, ¿cuál es tu pupusa favorita y por qué?
Frijoles con queso, porque es el mejor. It's the best. Like,
Segunda pregunta,
dale.
¿prefieres 3 noches desnudo en el Ártico? ¿Sabes el Ártico? Muy frío.
Okay.
In one of the coldest places in all the world.
Sí.
3 noches naked. ¿Ese?
Sí.
O una noche naked conmigo.
Una noche contigo. Sí.
Paz mundial. Paz mundial.
Fucking hilarious, bro. Te amo.
Te amo más.
So one of the other people that Carla brings up that I respect and appreciate very, very much, his name is Jerry Holmes. He is like the godfather of attachment styles. He is one of the biggest contributors to the understanding of attachment styles in nowadays and current time. And one of the quotes that she brought up from him was, "There is a reciprocal relationship between secure attachment and creative or playful exploration. Only when attachment needs are satisfied can the individual turn away from their attachment figure and explore and create in the world." So for some people, having their attachment needs met can be the catalyst to them being able to explore and be creative. And then for some other people, having their attachment needs met can simply be an amplifier for what they already know to be true. And it's a beautiful experience on both sides. Being loved in a way that makes you want to create and explore, and being loved in a way that reassures you in your creativity and exploration. It's beautiful when you can create and love yourself and love what you make and love the impact that it has, and then be even more amplified by the reassurance that you receive from other people that tell you what you have done is beautiful and amazing and positive. And it's also beautiful when it's hard for you to get started, but people who love you are able to tell you what you're doing is beautiful. We need more people like you in this world. And it makes you like, fucking right. I'm going to get it done. You're fucking right. Thank you for saying that. I needed that. I swear, oh my God. How could love not be your favorite thing in the universe? I don't get it. It's just like so amazing. It can be, it is the most powerful thing in the universe. And it's beautiful because every single one of us have an infinite amount of love connection inside of us. All of us have an infinite amount of unconditional love inside of us. It's not something that you have to go get. It's not something that you need to go and attract. You have it. It's in you. You are part of the infinite unconditional love that exists in this universe. It's just about whether or not you can directly tap into it, or you can take the time to sit down and appreciate the infinite power that you are. I love you so much. I love myself so much. I love the environment so much. I love the world so much. I love the universe so much. And it will never run out. Isn't that fucking beautiful? That you can just love forever, for however much you want, for however long you want, as long as you love yourself. Because if it's in you, then you don't, it doesn't matter how much you give out, because it's in you. It's infinite. There's no limit. You just fucking love forever and ever and ever. That's fucking awesome. That's so fucking awesome. Oh God, love is so awesome. Anyways, let's get back to it. So a good point that Carla brought up that I wanted to talk about is that she mentioned that self-love does not look the same on everyone. That there are some people who you encounter and you can just tell that they love the life that they live. You can just tell that they enjoy existing as who they are. But their self-love is not central on, oh, I love me so much. I love the way I look. I love the effect that I have. Sometimes those people who are just genuinely in love with their existence are just people who enjoy the things that they do and the people that they meet and the experiences that they have, and they're just grateful for existence. And that love that they have for themselves is not always exactly about who they are as a person, because you can appreciate who you are as a person, you can love who you are as a person, but that doesn't mean it has to be the catalyst of your self-love. Some people just love themselves because they think that they deserve to be loved, and so they give it to themselves, and then they enjoy life. And I'm not on that end of the spectrum. I love myself because I love myself. Like, I think I'm fucking amazing. I love the effect that I have on people. I love the effect that I have on me. I love the effect that I have on the universe. And I'm so in love with all of the things that I'm interested in. So it's easy for me to love myself because I love me. I love everything about me. But some people, they find that self love in just existence in general, rather than it being centralized as who they are as a person, or the traits that they have, or the effect that they have. They just appreciate the fact that they exist, and they know that they deserve love, so they give it to themselves. And that's a beautiful way to exist. Everybody can love themselves the way they want to love themselves. Love you the way you deserve to be loved. That's all I ask. That's it. It's a beautiful day to have a glass of wine.
Yep. Yep.
So, I'm getting closer to the end of the notes that I've taken on this chapter. And thank you for hanging out with me and talking to me, or talking with me, having this conversation about love with me. I think it's really important. But one of the things that Carla said, and I'm quoting her on this because this is directly from her book, and these are her words. She said, "Love, in short, involves taking pleasure in the object of love. In order to love something or love someone, you have to find pleasure in that thing or that person. If you're not pleased by the person or the thing, then it becomes increasingly hard to love them or that." And I'm talking about you, yourself. If you don't find pleasure in yourself, then it becomes hard to love yourself. If you're not pleased with who you are as a person, then that is the catalyst of you having a lack of self-love. The reason why it's hard for you to love yourself, or for some people, because I can't speak for everybody, for some people, the reason why it's hard for them to love themselves is because they're unpleased with who they are as a person. If you're unhappy with who you are as a person, then fucking change it. You control who you are. You can make decisions differently. You can change your habits. You can change your interests. You can change the decisions that you make. You become a more virtuous person in the best interest of you. And that will lead to you loving yourself more. If you're not pleased with who you are as a person, then change who the fuck you are and start loving yourself so that you can love others. We need more love in this world. Fucking enough not love. There's enough hate everywhere in the fucking world. Please do whatever you need to do in order to love yourself. At the harm of none, of course. So another thing that I want to quote from Carla, directly from her. And I'm ending it by quoting Carla because I have talked a lot of shit about her writing. But there are some things that she has said that I find truly beautiful. And one of them is a question. Is caring for someone or something's true interest distinctively even necessary for me to love them? And oh shit. Fuck no, it ain't. In layman's terms, her question is, do I need to love their interests in order to love them? Fuck no. That's fake as fuck. You need to love what you love in order to love yourself so that they can love you for who you are as a person. Their interest, I'm not gonna say it's irrelevant, because like, you should like some of the same things for sure. But their interest does not have to be your interest in order for you to truly love that person. All you need to do in order to truly love someone, all they need to do in order to truly love you, is you need to be yourself. Love you. And if you don't love you, change who the fuck you are so you can love you. If there's something about you that you don't love, fucking change it. If there's something about you that you really love, keep it the same and enhance it. It's a simple fucking equation. My point is you don't have to be interested in everything that someone else is interested in to love them. Oftentimes, just showing up authentically as yourself is enough to receive love. All right, so this is the last point from Carla. And it's a direct quote from her book, and I believe it's the last sentence of this chapter that I read in her book called Morality and the Emotions. And it's an indirect quote because I don't like the way she fucking writes. She's referring to the connection between practical rationality and self-love. Here's what she says. The connection was seen to be dependent on same relation constraint. And same relation constraint means to love yourself the way that you would love someone else that you love. This restraint can be respected if we take due account of how thoroughly pleasure is involved in love. So we can maintain loving ourselves the way that we love others if we take into account the pleasure that we would receive from loving someone or loving ourselves. You have to think about how pleased you are with the person that you love. You have to think about how pleased you are with yourself so that you become more capable of loving yourself. And this is a beautiful point. And it's a beautiful point to end her chapter on, because it's so important to be pleased with who you are as a person. Because if you're not pleased with who you are as a person, then you will never be able to love yourself. The only way that you can change that, if you're unhappy with what you see in the mirror, if you're unhappy with the life that you wake up to, is to make the difference. Become a person that you can love. If you're not having a lot of love for yourself is because you're not being someone that you think deserves love. So become someone that you believe deserves love. Start doing things, making decisions, and having thought patterns and having emotional regulation that is a person that you see, wow, that person really deserves a lot of love. I don't want you to hate yourself. I want you to love yourself in every shape, form, and fashion. Love the journey of becoming somebody that you feel like is more deserving of love. Love yourself for the fact that you were even capable of being aware enough that you needed to make a difference in who you are in order to be more loving. Because the more you love yourself, the more you can love others. And I, in turn, feel like that is all I want to do. I want to love myself so much that it becomes secondhand nature for me to love others. And that is already my truth. That is already my existence. I love me so much that I have zero issues loving other people. I love every single person on this planet before and after me. During I'm here, while I'm here, before I was here, and after I'm gone. I love every single person that has ever existed. I don't like all you motherfuckers, but I love you so much. Because I'm one of the motherfuckers that's gonna love you whether or not you like it or not. Because I love you. You ain't gonna stop me from loving you. Straight up. Anyways, that's all I gotta say about the chapter that I read in Carla Bagnoli's book about morality and the emotions. And it was a really good chapter. She had a lot of beautiful things to say, and I learned a lot from her writings. I just wish that she wrote differently, but she didn't write it for me. She wrote it for whoever wants to read it. So I'm glad that she did. I'm glad that I'm able to share it with you. And I love you very much. I will see you next time on our next Luminary Hearts conversation on love. Have a beautiful day. Tell somebody that you love them. But before you do that, go look in the mirror and tell yourself that you love you. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I love you. And I speak true peace, positivity, prosperity, protection, love, light, and laughter upon you and all your loved ones. Peace.